Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. As our culture reveals, the nature of the Lord to be Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam, the intelligent cause and the material cause of this creation. The same culture must have, in order to be true to the vision, it should carry in its what you call, it should cradle, the culture should cradle, the civilization should cradle this knowledge, this wisdom. The culture should be that which not only talks about this wisdom, this knowledge must be something that is accessible to all, but it must also have in its forms this capacity to express that wisdom. Here is a culture that not only talks about Ishvara in this manner, not only teaches Bhagavan in this manner, also provides us those forms, those symbols that help us make this vision a reality for us. And therefore, when you see the different dimensions of a culture, the components of a culture is identified in terms of the food, the dress, the ornamentation, the customs, the manners, the art forms, the music, the dance. And in all this, when you see this culture, really it stands apart. All cultures around the world have these components, but they are more or less secular in nature. When you look at these forms in our culture, you look at the dance forms. Even though dance forms may be group dance, single dance, classical folk, the Deshi, the Margi style, the Deshi style. Deshi is the folk forms of art. In the folk forms you find, one doesn't really have to study 5 years of Bharatanatyam in order to be able to move your step, your feet in rhythm. Deshi is free-flowing. This free-flowing art, when you look at the themes, what is the theme of these dance forms? Amazing to see. It is always in some stuti of Devi, or some appreciation of nature, of seasons, of changes. So this Ritu has come, Basant Bahar has come, this Ritu has come, the season has come, it's time for music, time for dance, Pongal has come. Like this we have in these folk forms, dance forms where there is a celebration of life, of the changing seasons, of the blessings that the Lord has given. And the movements are free flowing, as I said. In fact, if art has to communicate something, art is a beautiful form of communication, but it is beautiful only when what is communicated is sacred. What is communicated should be sacred. If the art used, whether it be music or dance, if the art that communicates is an art that evokes in the recipient, that the artist is the communicator, the art is communicated, is communicating, the art is communicating a theme. And what it communicates is received by the audience. And what the artist communicates and the recipient receives, should it tally or not? If the artist is communicating dukkham, sorrow, and the audience starts laughing, that means there is something wrong in this communication. When the artist weeps, the audience should weep. When the artist celebrates, the audience should celebrate. An artist is a rasika, is able to generate. If what is communicated is base, if the artist wishes to communicate, what is communicated evokes in the recipient base emotions, understand that art form is base. If it evokes in the recipient feeling of joy, of profundity, of sanctity, of elevation, then understand that art form is sacred, divine. What is communicated, the art communicates, but what it communicates is really what matters. These days the art that communicates brings awkwardness in the families even sitting together and watching the art form. Am I right or wrong? You're sitting with your child and you see that dance form there, you want to go under the ground. Your child gets up and tries to emulate the movements, making matters worse. But the discomfort that that dance has produced only goes to show that what is communicated is base. Dance is this way. Music is no different. Try watching MTV. I said try because it's so difficult to watch. Thanks for this Anikati ashram has no TV for us to watch. We escape some of these agonies that you face in society. Because this artist, when he tries to sing, the convolutions of the face, the anger generated with the guitar, and he is really expressing his music, how the fury behind, the hatred behind, in fact it is considered really smart when you can be furious in your music. When you have that passion to get up there and steam, let out all your hatred of your life situations, and you sweating it out. The guitar is in your melody. He even takes the guitar, throws it up in the air, grabs it, dashes it to the ground, breaks the strings, and the audience applauds. All the teenagers in the audience jump up and down. What a music this was. What a music. That instrument that produced the melody, a melody that is in the creation, that this instrument produced, the instrument is sacred. For us, everything that brings you closer to that harmony is sacred for us. The artist does not begin her art without, there was a time in this country where the artists only danced before the Lord. They were called Devadasis. You look at the old temples, there was a Natya Mandapam, where this Nitya Mandapam, where music, dance and so on went on. In fact, that Halabedu temple in Karnataka, you still see that circle right before the altar where the Devadasi would stand and perform her art. That art in which she uses her whole form. The whole anga is used to bring out the beauty of creation in melody, in stuti, with music that is in praise of the Lord. That dance was looked upon as an offering to Bhagavan. Nrityam samarpayami, Geetam samarpayami. Thus we have art itself is part of the puja upachara. Music and dance was looked upon as sacred in this country. Devadasis were these artists. They were given by the families to the temples to become dasi of the Devata. In fact, they married the Devata. They were considered to be Sumangalis because they could never be widowed. There was no function in the society where a Devadasi was not invited as a Sumangali who would bless the function. That was her status in the society. Until British. By the time India saw independence, Devadasis had become prostitutes. They were thrown out of the temples. It was told, it was banned. The Devadasis were not allowed to live anymore in the temples. And they were given this measly, sustenance for the rest of their life that the government offered, because the role they had to play was not what the society had envisioned. Amazing it is, there is no element of this culture where these aliens did not come in to try and destroy. All the sanctity, understand, sanctity does not sit in the object, sanctity sits in the human heart. And therefore, if this human heart is deprived of its sanctity, if it is not allowed to revere, what will happen? All that is here will become insipid, will become ordinary, will really lose that hold on the human heart. And oppressors oppress the people by doing whatever it takes to suppress the culture. Every dimension of this culture was destroyed in this manner. All the sacred elements that every art form had, the music had, the customs had. You look at this, what they call this Kalapani. One time in your life, there are two places I think we all should visit. One is Greater Kailash, to see Sri Kailashapati. That is really the epitome of yatra for a Hindu heart. And the other is Kalapani. Kalapani at the other end, which goes to show you, it is that jail where these people who what they call the people who were destructive elements of the British society were dumped. And in that jail, who were they? I happened to be there for one of my heritage programs, Vedic heritage programs. Vivekananda Kendra had invited me. I went there and we were told to see Kalapani. We went to Kalapani. We saw this jail. Hey, who are the people in this jail? Savarkar. Look at each one of our patriots. Patriots who gave their life. The abuse, the beatings that they received. The amount of humiliation. It was not merely that you disobeyed the rulers. They were humiliated because they stood by their culture. A Brahmana was not allowed to do his sandhya. He was not allowed to wear his upavitam. If he held on to it, he got beatings. It was made sure he doesn't get his food. Well, they were patriots we call today, we glorify them. By mere glorifying, our work is not over. We owe them, at least we have some renown to them to give us independent India today. The fact that we live in post-independence times, we live at these times when on whose lives, on whose bloodsheds? Of those patriots, those elders who gave their lives saying Vande Mataram is all they had on their lips. Nothing else was allowed for them to keep. Some of these patriots lost their minds. They were made crazy. The amount of abuse, please go and see the amount of abuse. But one thing they never gave up was their culture. Whatever was left for them was given to Bharat Mata. That soil is what for them was their mother, their father, their strength, their everything. And they were never going to compromise that. Nothing would make them compromise if they meant giving up their lives. Who wants a life which is full of compromises? This was the bhavana with which those patriots, where did they find themselves? Kalapani. There were many other corners of this country where these nationalists were dumped, abused, really beaten black and blue, made to what they call that, in Kalapani you have that grinding. They had to go around, not chakki. They had to carry, they had to do this, make oil. They had to make oil. Yeah. How? A single man carrying, they were hooked, their backs were hooked, and they had to go around. This is, you want to know real history of India, this is real history. Let's not talk about what happened in Europe and in South America, North America. In the land on which we sit, you want to really be realistic? You want to know the truth of this country? Then be ready to own up. Be ready to weep for those people. Be ready to grieve for them. Only then we'll be ready to stand up for our culture, our heritage, and go fearlessly in doing what we need to do as people in education. Education of this country, my goodness, it was broken down, totally destroyed. Gandhiji tried to say that. This is a land that had in every village where there were 100 families, there was a school. The masses had education. In fact, the British were surprised. There in Britain, only the nobles had education, not the masses. Here, who was not educated? Every villager was given, there was these village schools. Pathashalas were all over, hundreds of thousands of them in every state. Every one of them were destroyed. In fact, Gandhiji says, the beautiful tree of education has been destroyed by you, O British. There was a lot more he wanted to say, he was asked to stop. They promised a dialogue later which never happened. A civilization which really had nothing but sanctity in their hearts. The people had nothing but reverence for everything. Gratitude, kritagnyata was the bhavana on which our people lived. It was that bhavana that gave them all the breakthroughs that today we talk of modern science. All the breakthroughs, the mathematical zero came from here, the decimals came from here, the science, the medicine started where? In this land. The first surgeries were performed here. In metallurgy, you look at our art, architecture. Which field you want to know in study of language, in grammar? We had a sutra literature of the great grammarian Panini, who quotes many other grammarians before him. Hanumanji was called Nava Vyakarana Pandita. That means from that yuga, Nava Vyakaranam. One Vyakaranam, we still scratch our heads. Teachers become grey. Students become bald. This is our this is our plight in one Vyakaranam. Nava Vyakaranam. You cannot fathom. What richness, what heritage. Understand one thing, this was a land that always generated knowledge. It never borrowed knowledge. Today our country borrows knowledge all the time. Some country somewhere is done something we want. Please give us. Please give us. Let us take from here, let us take from there. Our ancestors, try to understand who our ancestors were. These Rishi Munis who generated knowledge. The world followed us in everything. Not merely in understanding the metaphysics of Srishti, of creation. They generated knowledge in all disciplines. What you call the secular disciplines. The textile industry. India was led the world in textiles. Our spinning mills, millions of them, how many were shut down? You know how they were shut down? The weavers' thumbs were cut. Look at history. You want to know Indian history, please look. Be real. Look at Indian history that the Bharatiyas see. Not from an alien vision. Not from a vision of somebody who wanted to distort things for his benefit. Why do we have to go by what they told us what we were all about? Why don't we explore ourselves and find out? In fact, there are people who explored and kept discovering things that nowhere they learnt in their childhood. Their own struggle to know all this, it made them feel, come on, let us do something about this. Let us show our children what this desha is. If we have to identify with our heroes, our patriots, our people who lost their life, well, we will identify with them. If we have to cry for them, we'll cry for them. If we have to take pride in their fearless life, we will take pride. If we have to carry their message, we are here to carry their message. After all, we are the younger generation. And therefore, we want to get across to our children, our coming generation. Let them know the truth, what is wrong. We are supposed to be teachers, committed to knowledge. Knowledge is not Purusha Tantram, it is Vastu Tantram. Knowledge is what is true to what is. History should be true to what happened. Iti ha asa, this is how it was. In this, there is no hiding of facts, there is no camouflaging, there is no personal agenda possible. Should not be possible. But if the government itself sees, in every move of historians, academicians, if the government begins to see personal agenda, where governance has nothing to do with history, Our only thing is, we are stuck with them, that's all. They will become history very soon. But really academics, education, what is the connection of politics and power and ruling with academics and education? Research should be allowed to be continued as research. RD should be an independent source that provides the nation the truth of what is, what was, not prevented, not diluted for its own alternate agendas, ulterior motives. Well, as Puja Swamiji often says, we always get in life what we deserve. Maybe we deserve this kind of governance. Maybe it is something we did. There is a time for wrong actions when you pay for it. There is called time for prayaschitta, where your heart is bleeding, has all the dukkham to see all the wrong that's going on. Maybe in the samashti order, this is time for a prayaschitta. But understand, prayaschitta is not complete. When I look at all this, those of us who have really explored what the heritage is all about, we cannot walk away from the scene without feeling the pinch of what is going on. But then we cannot just sit and weep. We have to do what we have to do. That one little drop in the ocean, that one pebble of that Vanara, towards that forming of that bridge, all we can do is maybe contribute our pebble, our drop, our little sand pieces from the back of that squirrel that it shook off. Each one has its own contribution, but without giving back, without giving to our next generation, understand, we will all carry that rinam. Rinam which Sri Rama worked so hard to clear for his father. We will have nobody to clear it for us because we goofed so bad. We messed it up so bad. We were not responsible enough for our education. We were not ready to see what needs to be seen to make the changes that we need to make. Do we want our future generations to blame us? Do we want 5 generations down the line them to say, hey, everything was wonderful until this century. This post-independent, that following 100 years after independence, those ancestors of ours were really cowards. They had no backbone. I think the Britishers made them lose their backbone. They had lost all pride of their heritage. They had all inferiority complex. All they wanted to do was imitate the West. And therefore they were wearing jeans, walking around with guitar and playing loud Western music, doing break dancing. That was, I think, generation that because of which we really lost out. At the rate at which we are going, we don't know what's going to happen. Unless we pause, understand, if that Macaulay could do what he did, we are hundreds and thousands and millions of us. All we need is our own conviction, our own insights, our own strength, our own pride to bring back our heritage to its glory. Our culture has that sanctity even today. As I said, the music and the dance. In the ornamentations, as Puja Swamiji beautifully shared with you, he showed how abharanam, it is not cosmetic. It is an alankara of Bhagavan. The women may wear kajjalam. They may wear what we call this kajal. They may wear the not lipstick, the what do you call, or that made of that pushpam, hibiscus rasa. They may have all this, but then it is not cosmetic. They may wear bangles, They may have all that abharanam, but it is abharanam, it is not cosmetic. Somebody said, well, your saris are highly erotic. Well, this was in the West. Why erotic? Well, because you show your midriff. I've heard this. In this attire, you show your midriff. Midriff showing is looked upon as highly erotic. In our country, hey, what about those legs you reveal? What about those legs? Is that not considered erotic? For us, covering the body, robes that flow, not robes that accentuate the contours of the body, that is not sacred. Robes must flow. That is why sari flows. Flows, and no matter how big the amma is, it is that same 6 yards that takes care of her. It is a wraparound because it has its way of expansion and contraction. It is not an attire made to fit the contours of the body. There is a grace, there is a beauty in the flow. There is a maryada which is very different. Well, one has to grow up in this culture to understand how attire is also looked upon as sacred. The music, the dance, the colors of the clothes, as I said, and really the non-verbal communication. Here is a culture which communicates non-verbally. Even interpersonal relationship. We wonder sometimes, when you look at this, the Western cultures, they are fine where they are. We have no complaint about them. The complaint is only we people trying to bring in what is not ours. As if what is ours is not good enough. Here is a culture that has always communicated through symbols. In fact, much of life, much of the bhavana is communicated through symbols. When you do your namaskaraha, one akshata is enough to communicate your sharanagati to the Lord. When you really love someone, what do you do? How do you show your love? Like Hanumanji? You pick a flower, you put your love in that, and then you carry it for this woman. This young woman who receives it, if she receives your love, if she doesn't want to receive your love, well, lot of possibilities are there for her. It is just a rose flower. But neither do you see it as a flower, nor does she. For you, it is your heart sitting in it. Hey, what is this? There is nothing happening here. It is your heart sitting in that rose. And when she receives it, she receives that heart full of love. In fact, such a beautiful rose, her friend tells her, well, hey, you have a nice rose in your hand. You already have one on your hair. Come on, give this to me. And she says, no, you can take this one. But this one is loaded. The rose in my hand is loaded. I cannot part with this. And the friend says, loaded with what? No one else can see. Only she can see. See what? She sees a bhavana which is locked into that form. Is it not true? How else do we communicate to each other? Without forms, how do we communicate? Really, what is in the heart is given through objects. Words fail. In fact, in a culture where symbols are more than adequate, we don't require words to communicate. The eyes speak, the objects talk. When father enters the room, well, the son stands up. That is what? Fear? It is maryada. It is a form of respect shown to the elder. That is a form, a cultural form. What is wrong with that form? Who are we to make a judgment that this is right, that is wrong? Is the only way to show respect to father is, hi dad? Is that the way we are brought up? If it is standing up, or if it is doing namaskaraha, what is wrong in that? In fact, everything is wrong when we try to do what is not ours. Think of this poor Subbu sitting, 8-year-old child in Kumbakonam watching this show. This TV show, you know, The Young and Restless. There was this show in the US, The Young and Restless, as if it is something to watch. And the whole afternoon it's one of those, what you call soaps, you know, soap. Not a Rexona soap and Lux soap. Soap means these afternoon shows where these housewives after their lunch they sit down and watch. Because in India at least you can gossip with your neighbors. There you can't gossip. So you watch shows where gossips are the revolving centers of the themes of these stories. Well, they watch these soaps, and in this, here is a kid, a Sam, this child Sam, who really is so, he loves his father. And they always have a great dialogue between each other. Our Subbu in Kumbakonam is watching what? He sees this Sam, looks to be the same age, 8-year-old here, 8-year-old there. And he sees what a dialogue they have. Subbu feels, you know, I never talk to my Appa in this manner. In fact, Appa never talks to me. Here when dad comes back from work, Sam goes, hi dad, he puts his hand on his shoulder. He tells him, hi, how do you do? How was your day? Dad says, fine, sonny. And then he asks the son, how was your day, kiddo? And the kid says, as good as yours, dad. They talk as equals. They talk as equals, and our poor Subbu in Kumbakonam is watching this. With Appa, he cannot imagine such a situation. Well, he thinks, I don't think really I am doing the right thing. This is the way to be close to my father. Today when Appa returns from work, I will also go up to him and just, you know what Sam did? Hi dad, he did. I will also do hi dad. Really, I have to start talking to my father. Well, Appa comes home. Subbu is waiting at the door, excited with his new plan. And as soon as Appa arrives, he goes, hi Appa. Appa receives the hi all right, but Subbu also receives. Subbu is not going to get hi Sunny of Sam, what Sam got. Really, Subbu is confused because why Appa cannot respond? Well, as the story turns, Sam has come to India on an exchange program where these kids are sent to foreign lands to stay 1 month with a traditional family of another culture, to see what really they do, how they live. And for this exchange program, Sam has arrived where? In this traditional home. Whose home? Subbu's home. This is a day Subbu is waiting for. So happy his hero is going to stay with him for 1 whole month. Well, Subbu always, when he wakes up, before he goes to school, namaskara is a must to his elders, to his party, to his Appa, Amma. He does his namaskara, goes to school, comes back in the evening. He has his routine set. Sam is observing making notes, understand. He is amazed. He never saw anything like this. Hey, this little kid, like me, he seems to be worshipping his father. He falls at his father's feet every morning. I only bang my dad on the shoulder and look at the reverence he shows him. Really Sam is touched. He decides, when I get back to the US, really I have to show my dad how much I love him. Not just love him, I revere him. He's got to me like Subbu's appa is to Subbu. Sam goes back. Father has come to JFK, John F. Kennedy Airport, to receive his sonny after 1 month long vacation. And Sam charges out goes down, running down the corridor. Dad is standing there with open arms. Sam, here. Dad is waiting with open arms. Sam is ready to go and meet his most revered father. How? With a Sashtanga Namaskaraha. Sam and Sashtanga Namaskaraha. Father jumps back. Hey, is this some new trick? Is he trying to pull my shoelace or what? What is this trick Sam has picked up in India? How can dad relate to Sashtanga Namaskaraha? How can Subbu really go, hi dad, sitting in Kumbakonam? Why is it that Subbu needs to say hi dad? Does Sam have a need to do Sashtanga Namaskaraha? What is wrong with the cultural forms where they are? Why is it that we have this pressure to change, to adapt, to emulate? Really, when you look at what is before you, if there is a pressure to do something that is not our own, that is not native, understand that pressure comes from something else. It is one thing for an adult who is sure about his culture, who has no conflict of his cultural identity if he takes up an attire, a form, a language. Nothing wrong, it is added knowledge, added embellishments. A Carnatic musician, if he learns jazz, a classical Bharatanatyam dancer, if she chooses to learn a few beats of Western dance, nothing wrong. But if as a youngster she refuses to learn Indian dance, why? Because my friends are learning Western, because being Western is being successful, because the pressure of society is to imitate. Well, something has gone wrong, let me tell you. Our media has not helped the situation. Our education system has not helped the situation. Our goals of education, what are they? You ask somebody, why do you go to school? The child says, that's exactly why what I have been asking my mother, why should I go to school? Amma seems to be pressurizing me to go to school. I don't want to go to school. She keeps saying you should become like your appa. Hey, what is appa? Appa is an engineer, still looking for a good job. Anyway, she after 10 years after his degree, still he hasn't gotten anywhere in his life. Any case, mother keeps saying, be like father, be like father. And this child says, Amma, I want to be like my mama. Which mama? Not the Kankroli one. This is the Mumbai wala. This is the Mumbai mama who has really invested in all these flats all over Bombay. He is a Krishna Bhakta, not Rama Bhakta, Krishna Bhakta. And this mama, really he seems to be so successful in life. Who is this child going to be inspired by? By this engineer father? Or by the successful mama, whenever mama comes home, he comes with so many gifts and toys and whatnot. Whatever the bhatija wants, mama is ready to provide. Anything that the son asks his engineer father, he says, we don't have the money for this, we don't have the money for that. And therefore this child thinks, why should he go to school? In fact, somebody said, I asked one day, why does anybody go to school? To get education. Why do you want education? Because to get a good job. Oh really? Good education means good job. In fact, minus education you get better jobs. You become ministers in this country. You get right on top of the ladder. What are you talking about? Minus education is success all the way. This education system is going to bring success for us. This kid is not convinced. He wants to be like that mama, not this engineer father, because what for? What is this education giving us? What is the goal of life? What is your definition of success? Is cutting corners in life and rising high in society, if that is your definition of success, you don't require education for that. If the education system cannot teach the child the wisdom of life, of living, you call it education? Well, our culture doesn't think so. No education system is complete without teaching the child the value of a value. A value is a value. When the value of the value is valuable to the child, when the value of the value is valuable to the child, not to the appa, amma, teacher, principal, a value should be valuable to me. Only then I can imbibe it, only then it is mine. Until then it is fake. The whole value system, education is fake, it's facade. I speak into the mic, even though this is not the mic, and I say it is facade because it is facade. It doesn't get the child anywhere. Value education has got to happen with culture of the land. In the global situation of India, in the global cultures of the world today, when communication is global, we talk about a global village, we talk about globalization, we talk all these big words that when I grew up I didn't even know what they were, what they meant. When you want to teach a child value, you cannot talk about values without connecting it to the native culture of the land. The culture of the land is the one that gives you the pride, the identity of the value. Namaskaraha is our expression of reverence. Hi dad may be their expression of respect. It is okay for them. This is okay for us. In fact, this is the right thing for us. There is nothing wrong in being with your forms. In fact, if I can only have that pride of being who I am, own up my own forms, my own symbols, my own cultural expressions, the culture has. The true message of those forms, of those symbols, is really the sutra there. That single thread of the message given is in divinity. I hold on to the original statement, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. All that is here is divine. And the culture provides various means, various forms, various expressions to help me own up Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. In all these forms, food is sacred for us. Water is sacred for us. Snanam is sacred for us. Dress is sacred. All the forms you take, any one of them you take, It is all sacred. In fact, if you look at creation, it is nothing but a pursuit of three things: knowledge, wealth, and power. All that a human being wants is knowledge, wealth, and power. Think of the fourth. There is no fourth. For us, all three are goddesses. All three is Shakti: Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Durga Devi. All the three of them are Shaktis that we seek. Think of a fourth, there is none. Everything that is here is divine. In that divinity, we discover our culture. Through discovery of our culture, we discover divinity. In striking divinity in your heart through dharma, you strike harmony with the external. In striking harmony with the external in dharma, you are one with the total. You don't create apashruti. Adharma is apashruti, understand? What will it take for us to rise to that? Nothing short of Purna Vidya. If there is one answer, it is Purna Vidya. Don't tell me you are sounding like a fanatic. I have no problem being a fanatic. Because in my fanaticism is truth. You try to shake the statement. You try to tell me there is another answer for our problems today. You have something better to offer than cultural heritage and values connected to culture. Please come up with a better solution. Then we will reanalyze the whole thing. Until you do so, take what you have before you. Take what the masters have seen through. Take what the seers foresaw. For they had a foresight to see a situation like this would come, and our country would be in need for culture-based value education. Time has come. Enough of worrying about others. This is one more problem in our culture. Everything is wonderful, but this one aspect, what will others say? We always worry what others will say. This is one thing that is not existent in the West. You want to be a Westerner, please pick up one more quality. What others say they do not think, because they don't know who is the other. The neighbor I have never seen. I live in this flat. One time this person, this person had a massive stroke. 3 days his body was in the flat and the neighbor did not know. That is okay, at least the doors were closed. There was this other gentleman in California, and he always, very sincere worker, used to come early in the morning, sit behind his desk. You know these chambers we have these days, these computer centers where you have these cubicles. And he was sitting in his cubicle, always the last person to leave, such a sincere worker. And sitting there, he sat there, had an attack, lost his life, prana went out. He continued to sit there. People came next morning, saw him sitting there, left in the evening, he was still sitting there. Came back next morning, he's still sitting there. 2 days it took for them to understand, this person is gone. He's not been sitting there anymore. They don't worry about what's around. Little extreme on the other side. But we are extremes on this side. We worry about everything what everybody would say, and with the result we don't do what needs to be done. We don't do what we need to do. We allow the world to destroy our lives. We allow people to influence our minds. We have no courage to move on with our convictions. This is the other side of the story. Well, it's time to start thinking properly and do what needs to be done to save our education system of this land. When we meet again, we will look into We saw how the culture has in its expressions this divinity in the forms, in the expressions. Divinity is the spirit of the forms. When we meet, we will look into how the culture presents to us a structure for the growth of the individual. This is where samskaras come in. A defined frame, looking into the human growth cycle, human growth process. It's so beautiful to see this. It is the most wonderful gift that we have been given, to look into how the human being grows, and at every stage of the growth, how the culture guides the growth of the person through the sacraments, through the samskaras, and what they are. We will look into this in more detail when we meet in the next session. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.